am the Eternal Dragon. Why have you summoned me? You wish to...
For my deck list.
Your wish is granted.
So we're gonna be doing the Slug Deck profile that I played today. Well, technically it would be yesterday, Wednesday, May 5th, I want to say. We played at Stage Zero's first Circuit tourney. So before getting into the deck, we're gonna say our record and we're gonna say what happened and explain what happened. Okay, cool. So we went 3-1 with Lord Slug. Because our one loss was due to the fact that literally when the tournament started, I was just getting out of work. So I had to miss round 1. So I took the first round loss. That was fine. And then we just, from there, we didn't lose a single game. I'm going to upload some gameplay probably within the coming weeks. Me playing on stream. Might not be the best quality. Might not be it might not be great. But you will get content. Anyways, let's get into the deck. So, first things first. Slug Leader. The oldie but a goodie. Once per turn. Choose one card in your life, add it to your hand. Gains critical. Have 4 life or less, draw 2. Then we get this boy. It's regular size, but, we gotta flex the big boy. You see that ugly ass tape? Ugly tape. Let's go. Anyways, a 15k. Namekian. Key thing to remember. And Slug's Army. Key thing to remember. Auto. Attack. Draw 1. Uno cardo. Activate main. Place 1 card from your hand in the drop. Your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand, places in drop. Pretty simple. Alright? So, basic leader out of the way. Let's put him up right around here. Okay. So, I guess put this off to the side up here, because that will be the last bit we talk about. So, of course, we're playing Lord Slug, so we're running for the Lord Slug package 4 of Wings the Morale Booster. Wings the Morale Booster, got him all foiled, might I mention, has Barrier, 5k, 1 drop, combos for 0-5. I'm not going to read that out every time, just thought I might as well say it for the first one. So his permanent is basically unique and then reduces all energy costs of Slug's Army in your hand by 1. It says you can't control more than 1. This guy is your ideal turn 1. There's 2 ideal turn 1s. Your other ideal turn 1 is going to be... There he is. 4 of Demigrade Unison Sorcery. That's the other one we mainly want to run into. So either you want to open up Wings, or you want to open up Demigrade Unison Sorcery. We run as a 4 of just in case. We want to run one or the other. We want to open up one or the other. This sets up for our Unison package, which we'll get into after we finish the Slug package, but just mentioning it now. Yeah, so we run this guy, or we want to run this guy turn 1. If we get this guy out turn 1, our plays become a lot smoother and a lot easier to pull off. If we get him turn 1, we play a lot more defensive. So, there's that. But yeah, Wings, Morale Booster, 4 of it in any Slug Army deck. So we'll set him off to the side. Alright, and since we're playing Slug's Army, we gotta play 4 AOD Lord Slugs. AOD Lord Slug has auto discard 1 card. He's a 3-drop, but due to Wings, he becomes a 2-drop. As you can see, specified 2 green, so the 1 gets reduced. When you play this card, your opponent chooses 1 card in the hand, places in the drop. Activate main, once per turn, choose 1 card, or pay 1, choose 1 Slug's Army with original energy cost, of 3 or less, other than Lord Slug AOD, and play it. So, we want to get him into the drop, and then bring him back through the Lord Slug Young again. We want to bring him back through that, so that way Lord Slug Young again will cheat him out. We'll get the energy back for Lord Slug Young again, and then use that energy to fuel into him to play the Andonic Warrior Anguilla, also all 4 foil. Just thought I'm gonna probably do that every time, but yeah, running her as a 4 of. She's critical 15, auto, bond 2, Slug's Army. When this card attacks, your opponent chooses 1 card. When this card attacks, if your leader card is Slug's Army, choose 1 card. Your opponent chooses... Okay. Sorry. I keep misreading. Apologies. Small brain. Not good at reading. When this card attacks, if your leader Slug's Army, your opponent has to discard 1. Pay 1 to make them discard 1, and then if they negate, pay 1 to make them discard 2 is kind of insanely good in my opinion. So that's why this combo is actually really good. The whole point of the deck, again, it's a hand control deck, so all you want to do is rip as many cards as possible out of their hands. So there is the core, essentially, of Slug. But of course, we also got to run, as I mentioned earlier, 4 of Lord Slug Young Again. Young Again has the auto, Bond 2. So let me zoom it in here. Play this card. If your leader is a Slug's Army, choose one Slug's Army with energy cost of 3 or less, and play it. Then choose one of your energies to switch it to active. So if you ever decide to go multicolor, it switches any energy. Doesn't matter if it's green, red, blue, black, whatever. Switches it to active. And normally we want to pick green because we're going to cheat out AOD. And AOD with that 1 green is going to fuel into him. So essentially for 3 energy, because Wings reduces it by 1, remember that. For 3 energy, we get 120k, 120k, and 115k. Body that discards 2 cards and potentially a 3rd with the crit hit. So yeah, really, really good package. Must have 4s of all 4, I guess. Yeah, these next few cards, well, actually, outside of these guys, I'll do these guys first. The 3 of Zuin, the Loyal Blocker. So he's a blocker, permanent. If you have a Slug card in your leader area or battle area, you can play this card from your hand for free. Now, no, this does not trigger BMS, because BMS only triggers when we cheat him out through a skill. We are playing him for 0. 0. Remember that, so your opponents don't try to scam you out of 2 cards. So, Zuin blocker, really good blocker. He'll come in. I'll bring him back, so I'll set him off to the side when we talk about the Unison package, because he's really good with the Unison package. But yeah, he's our free play blocker. Normally he's going to save us most of the time. There have been rare occasions where I bring him back through Lord Slug again, which I will explain again going into the Unison package. So there we go. Next up, we got 2 Slug Return to Form. So Slug Return to Form, he's a 2-drop, but he gets reduced by 1, mentioned earlier, through Wings. And when you play this card, choose up to 1 Slug's Army with an energy cost of 4 or less, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. 2 foils, might have mentioned as well. Normally you're going to search out any one of these pieces that you're missing. But if you have all those pieces, it doesn't hurt to search out these guys. Slug, Lord Slug, Super Namekian. I splash this guy as a 2-of. He is very powerful, as we've seen with Mecha Frieza. He's a unique barrier, Bond 2. When this card is in rest, your opponent can't add cards from their deck to their hand using non-leader skills. Now you're probably wondering, this is a yellow card. How are you playing a yellow card in this deck? Well, as mentioned earlier, Slug Young Again can resurrect any 3-drop Slug's Army. Does not specify green, it just says 3 cost. So you can resurrect this guy. Or AOD Slug. Activate main, choose 1 Slug's Army from your hand with the original cost of 3 or less, other than Slug AOD. Play it. So we have 2 different ways of cheating him out. And honestly, both ways are very solid. If he dies through... We cheat him out with this. He dies, resurrect him with a Slug Young Again. Yeah, so we run him for decks like Invoker, for decks like anything with Draw Monkey, Cell Surge. We run it for decks like that so we can prevent them from getting those extra draws that they would normally get through us making them discard. So yeah, really good. It might actually help us next set when the... What comes out? I forgot what comes out, but something comes out that essentially makes it... I forget what it was called. I think it was a Deborah. When it's discarded, play it, draw 2. It makes hand destruction a little less viable, but we'll make it viable. Anyways, that's the Slug package for the most part, outside of the Zuins, which, again, we will get into in a bit. But there's the Slug package. Unison package. So, like mentioned earlier, 4 Demigod Unison Sorcery, and then the 1 of Bardock Parental Unison. Demigod Unison Sorcery, he's a 15k beat stick that has the permanent. When this card would lose a marker from an opponent's attack, you may choose to add a life instead. Because the goal of this leader for our build is to try to flip as fast as possible. Not too fast against aggro decks, but just enough to where we can awaken on our turn or opponent's turn to get the extra draw to. Have about 7 to 8 card hand. And we want to have a Unison with at least 2 markers to 3 markers on it for our hand traps, dormants, all that. And then on top of that, this is just a good beat stick. You can cycle them out, you know, play 1, beat him for 15, play 1, beat him for 15, play 1, beat him for 15, play 1, beat him for 15. On our aggro turns, if we stack a few of these in our hand, the deck pops off. And then we got Bardock, Parental Unison. This card is going to be your main card against Cooler, against Launch, against all those. You might want to bump it up to 2. I keep it at 1 just because I don't like seeing it too often, because those decks outside of Launch aren't seen that often in the metagame right now. Specifically Cooler. Combo decks aren't seen too much, but when they are, this card can really hose them because it forces them to have to combo something else prior before comboing their multicolor. And if that happens, we just don't rip it. We let them have it, right? And then on top of that, Wings is a 1-drop. Into the late game, Wings actually becomes a little useless to being an attacker. Well, becomes useless or an attacker, at least the way I play the deck, in certain situations when I want to push for game. So sometimes sacking him to make them discard the last card in hand can actually come in really clutch. And then the -3 to gain 5k dual or triple attack isn't bad either. So those are the Unisons. And then again, we're going to the Unison package here. So we got 4 Dormants, 3 Frieza Charismatic Villains, and 3 Master Roshi Kamehameha of Origins. Now, Kamehameha of Origins may not be specifically a Unison package, but it combos with our Dormant. Yes, this list is pre-ban list. Once ban list drops, you know, these are gone. We're taking these out. I don't know what we're replacing. Maybe Draw Monkeys. Maybe some more aggro pressure like the Critical Goku black card. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out when I get there. But it is a really good card right now for Slug because it allows us to cycle the Dormants and constantly buy ourselves an extra turn, essentially. And then Frieza Charismatic, of course, you gotta run the hand traps. Popping a 7-drop for free is kind of solid. It helps us stop losing the game sometimes. I've ran situations where I'm playing against a baby player and I purposely drop myself down to 1 when they're swinging at my Unison just to hold up the 2 markers for this guy. And then they just scoop. So yeah, no, really solid. Always want to play at least 2 to 3 of. No cutting this out. And then, yeah, 4 Dormants. For those of you who don't know what Dormant does, it essentially, you pitch Roshi when you use Dormant. You have to pitch a green card, pitch Dormant, or pitch Roshi. Dormant will blow up anything up to 2 costs, so we can blow up all tokens, because tokens do not have a cost. But we can also blow up 2 other cards outside of the tokens, because, again, tokens have no cost, so we can just blow up 2 more cards, or 1 more card, because it says up to 2 costs. And then they can only attack once more that turn. And the good combo to do here is when you Dormant, block. It becomes a negate. It's that simple. Like, activate Dormant, discard Roshi, block. And that becomes a negate, essentially. And then, yeah. So that's how that works. And that's the Unison package. So we're going to put it up there. And we're going to put this right in the middle. Or we'll put it on the Unison package, why not? Alright. Because we're going to need that later. Alright, going to the next few cards. The 3 Sacrifice negates, also foil. Sadly, I didn't mention the Zuins being foil, because only one of them was. 3 Sacrifices. The reason for Sacrifice is because we're a Namekian leader, and if you guys don't know what Sacrifice does, permanent. If your lead card is a Namekian, when you activate the counter, you may choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. If you do, you may activate this card's counter without paying its energy cost. Striking one, it's essentially Shocking Death Ball without the pop effect, and without sparking. That's essentially what it is. It's a free negate. And the best combo I love to abuse with this deck. Again, I'm going to have to go back to this, because this is probably one of my favorite combos in the entire deck, and probably the main reason why I've stuck with the deck so much. You drop Blocker on your turn, hold these 3 in hand. Pass, go to Dormant, pitch this, block with Zuin. That's essentially a negate for turn. Sure, you lost out on 3 cards, but you prevented a damage, and you're about to prevent a second one by just doing Sacrifice, Strike Life, and you essentially prevented a turn of damage unless they counter-counter. If they counter-counter, you're in trouble. Just try not to run into counter-counters. That's the way I play the deck. Try to force them to waste their energy before they get to counter-counter. But, yeah. So that's that combo there. Let's move in to the rest of the deck. So we're going to wrap up the green here. We're going to wrap up the green next with 2 Rebrians and 4... Defending Father Paragus, yes, foil starter deck. OGs, not the reprint. As you can see, no full art. But anyways, for Paragus. Paragus is in there because even though 18 is a good super combo, we want to have a hand to defend ourselves. And we want to have more of a chance of drawing into our defense pieces and our Unison package or our Slug package that we're missing. The bottom one is really good for hand destruction. However, because of the way we play this deck, we want to draw answers. We don't want to sit there and get rid of their hand and then them still have a board and us not being able to answer it. We want to draw our answers. So that's why Paragus, I feel, is the #1 super combo for this deck outside of the Great Saiyaman super combo. I prefer Paragus because it allows me to draw 2 before having to bottom. So on the off chance that this is the last card in my hand, I get the draw 2. Guaranteed. No hesitation. That's why I personally think this is the best super combo for this leader. Others have other opinions, and I will completely respect your opinions, but my opinion is that this is the best super combo. Anyways, to rebrands. Self-explanatory, but best combo to do. Pitch, rebrand, make them discard 1. Pay 2, warp rebrand, make them discard 2 more. So essentially, with our leader, she becomes a discard 3, which is really solid. If you thought discarding 2 for 2 was annoying, imagine discarding 3 for 2. Insane. Okay, anyways, going to our Unison and our SCR slots. So, or not Unison, sorry, Overwhelm's an SCR slot. We are running 2 Mechikoboras. I know that I said Overwhelm, but this card was just teched in. This is the exact same deck list, by the way, that I played at Core TCG's Regionals recently. But 2 Mechikoboras. So essentially, this card is to stop cards like Topo, so that way we can go in with our entire board. It stops a lot of just annoying cards that we don't know how to answer. If they have the 5-drop cooler, we can drop this, prevent the 5-drop cooler from negging our wings. And that's basically all he does. Against Dark Broly, we just turn off an entire turn of theirs. Like, just say no. Broly BR, just say no. If somehow we end up against Soul Striker Janemba, no to Janemba. This card is just so good if you know what people are running and what they might go into. This card's just insanely good. Second thing that's good about it, the Activate main. We do not run any Dark Dragon Balls, as you probably have noticed. The reason for it is we just get to search. We just get to see what's in our deck. No have to worry about anything. You can splash 1 ball and like 1 of the 4-drop if you really want. I don't recommend it, but if you want. Just so that way you have a search target. And that way, the 4-drop actually isn't terrible. It board wipes and then gives both players a draw. Or it blows up a Unison, which isn't bad either way, in my opinion. But yeah. Mechikoboras. That's why they're in the deck. We got 2 Bardock Awakened Instincts. If you don't know what this guy is, wow. You've been living under a rock. This card is insanely good. Overall 4 for free. 20k beat stick. And then, when you play this card with Overwhelm, draw 2, discard 1. Place the card in the drop, right? A card you could try splashing in the deck is the Beerus, Godly Majesty. That way you can discard it off of this and then get the extra body on board and just go full on aggro Slug, which I might do in the future. Who knows? But this card is insanely powerful in my opinion for just the fact that we get to draw more of our answers. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you want to flip as soon as possible. Draw. Super combos you want to draw. You want to see all your possible answers and all your possible combo pieces as fast as you can. And the fact that this drops and doesn't doesn't warp, sorry, is so much better because we can just purposely place our rebrands, our our rebrands, our Roshis, our Slugs, our Anguillas, so that way we can resurrect them and stuff like that. That's why this card's so good. And if we just happen, let's say, because I've been in this situation where I warped a AOD Slug through playing this, and I draw 2. I discard the AOD Slug and then just Young again right after and bring back that one that I just discarded. You know, it's just such a value card that I say this card almost always has to be ran in Slug decks. There are situations where you don't have to. I will say that. But in most of the time, I have found this card to be an extra body that helps us get there. Okay. The only thing this card kind of falls flat on is if they Violent Raise, but let's be real. With 20Ks, 15, okay, sure. 20s, like, with all the 20Ks we're running, Violent Raise is going to shut us down regardless, so there's no hope. And our last 2 cards, I'm basically going to introduce both these as our SCR slots, because they're basically both SCRs. Fu the Dark Banisher, and Cell Xeno. Well, one of them is an SCR. If you can't guess, it's Cell Xeno. Cell Xeno is one of the most busted green and busted yellow cards in the game. So, if you don't know what he does already, if you've been living under a rock, I'll explain it here for you. He's a 40k quadruple strike successor for free. That rips 3 cards when you're at 3 or more energy.
Rips 3 cards when you're at 3 or more energy.
Cards when you're at 3 or more energy and gains dual attack. You know, if the quadruple strike for free rip 3 wasn't bad enough, then they give it dual attack. And on top of that, you think you can hand trap it? It has deflect, so you're not hand trapping it with Trunks. Yeah, Soul Xeno's just too easy to pull out. Turn 1, right? Turn 3, drop this, into this, like 10, 10, 11, and then you just need, like, what? Where is he? Well, you can just do this turn 2 as well. Turn 1, drop this, turn 2, drop this, turn 3, drop this, and you have Soul Xeno set up. Like, you can set up Soul Xeno turn 3, guaranteed. Like, almost no hesitation. The deck can pull off Soul Xeno so easily that Soul Xeno is probably one of the best cards in the deck, and if not, it is the best card in the deck. And then Fu the Dark Vanisher. A triple striker, overrun for 4, overrun 8, 4 energy. Your opponent can't activate skills unless they choose one card in their hand and send it to the board. That card is insane. Because with the fact that we're already ripping their hand apart so bad, this just ensures that they will not have a hand at the end of the turn that this is played. And then you just pass. And if you have the dormant and everything set up in hand, they're not touching you. When this card comes down, you're either extending yourself by another turn, or you're so far behind that this was your only answer, and you're probably going to lose. But you're going to give it one last go to see if you can buy yourself another turn. That's essentially what this is. But yeah, that's the entire deck. You know, want to do deck profile because I know some people were asking me over on the Slug Facebook group, and I haven't been doing videos recently, so you know, gotta do something, right? So I'm going to be uploading some of the gameplay. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want to see more deck profiles and more Slug videos, I can explain how I pilot decks against certain matchups. Just give me an idea of a matchup, and I'll try to explain it the best I can. As you can tell, I'm not the best with words, so it's a little tough for me to kind of explain my thought process because I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I try. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile of Lord Slug. All hail Lord Slug.
Well, Lord Slug, it is my humble opinion, Lord Slug, that it will take 3 days, Lord Slug. Go Team Slug.